Just for me to stick with this, the issue of the recession. What this is showing is how real personal income, meaning personal income, total personal income going to all Arizonans, and then the dotted line going to all residents of Pima County. And just looking at that trajectory, a very steep ongoing growth over the last 40 years. What I've circled are the recession years. So if you look down here, you can see the 1973-74 recession. Notice that in Pima County, there was only the slightest dip, and then we returned to growth. Same thing in Arizona. When we get up to the early 80s, again, you know, you can't even tell whether there's a downturn or just a stall. When we get to the early 90s, there definitely was a downturn in Pima County, more just a stall in the economy, no growth. When we get to the recession of 2001, in both areas, what happened was growth just slowed down, but the economy kept going. When we get to where we are now, and I don't have the data for the last year for Pima County, you get state data before you get county data, notice the difference. This is why it's been called the Great Recession. I mean, it's a bigger impact. This recession is having a bigger impact than any of the recessions that Arizona or the nation has suffered through over the last 40 years. But I want you to put those 1 or 2 year slowdowns or stalls or slight dips in the context of the overall trajectory of the economy. It's that overall trajectory of expansion and economic vitality that's the most important thing, not the little blips along the way. Now, for those people who are out of jobs, those families who are suffering, government agencies who are seeing their budgets cut, I'm not trying to suggest that there's not real disruption or real suffering as a result of the recession. But I think we have to keep our eye on the long-run trend, which has been very positive. There's been something right about the Arizona and the Pima County economy, the greater Tucson area, and we have to keep our eye on that. The economists at the University of Arizona have indicated that technically the recession has ended in Arizona. By that, they just mean that production has started climbing again, even though jobs have not. But within the next year or so, we're going to see jobs climbing again and hopefully returning to the trajectory that we've seen previously. The point is that mining at some point in the future can't do anything about the recession we're having now, which wasn't primarily caused by what was done in Arizona, although Arizona did its best to contribute to it. It's a national recession. It's a national event that the country as a whole is suffering through. Next. What I want to do is talk about, from my point of view, what the greater Tucson area's actual economic base is. And to get a hold of that, what I've looked at is a document that was published in early 2007 called the Tucson Economic Blueprint, that was put together by the Tucson Regional Economic Opportunities Organization, TRIO. It's a group of business leaders and civic leaders who hired one of the most respected consulting firms in the United States around the world, as well as one of the more respected financial consulting firms, to do a multi-volume study of what the strengths of the Tucson economy were and how the greater Tucson economy could build on that and assure prosperity going into the future. What they listed there was 11, and I only have 5 of them, and you'll see in a minute why I focused on these 5 right now. What they listed was what they called Tucson's highest ranking economic development assets or strengths. All of these refer to what economists have come to call amenities, site-specific qualities that make a local area an attractive place for people to live, work, and do business. And so what they listed here is cultural diversity. The current image of the greater Tucson area is a place for leisure, recreation, and entertainment. The actual existence of substantial resources for recreation and entertainment in the region. The high quality of life, Tucson's current image as an attractive place to live. And finally, the art and cultural venues in the region. Next one. They also included several other things, and these sort of duplicate. Two of them dealt with the quality of the educational institutions, especially the University of Arizona. In addition, they focused on two geographic advantages. One is that Tucson is separate from, but can draw on the greater Phoenix area. That allows Tucson to have access to a greater range of production and services readily available at not too great a distance. Tucson can attract knowledge workers and small businesses from the Phoenix area that may be looking for a different sort of lifestyle, a different sort of physical setting. So they also listed that access to the greater Phoenix area, metropolitan economy, much larger than Tucson, so that Tucson can go its own way. It doesn't have to become like Phoenix. It can stay smaller, continuing to be vital, and draw on that other area for support as it goes its own way. And proximity to Mexico, there could be some debate currently because of that. I'll pass that issue up. But in the long run, that in the past it's been an asset, in the future it most certainly is going to be an asset. We just have to figure out some issues that our country has and how we're going to relate to our neighbor to the south. The point, the title here emphasizes what I want to talk about. Why are these business leaders and financial leaders, economic development experts, and leaders, civic leaders, political leaders in the greater Tucson area, why are they focused on these site-specific qualities, these amenities, these quality of life characteristics as they set about to plan economic development? And their answer is those are the area's strength. And what we have to do if we want to protect and encourage ongoing economic vitality here is to build on those strengths in a way, those amenities, those quality of life characteristics, build them on them in a way that doesn't undermine them at the same time as the economy expands. Next one. What wasn't listed by this study? Metal mining. And it's not surprising. In terms of real earnings, total payroll, wages and salaries, mining currently provides less than 1% of all the earnings in Pima County. So if you're looking for a strength, and let's look at the next slide, and something that might have a positive trajectory, this is what's happened to real earnings in mining over the last 40 years in Pima County, tumbling significantly. I have down here the total real income being received by all residents of Pima County in 2008 was $34 billion. Even with this uptick, mining in 2008 was providing $173 million. About 0.5%. The number is different from the previous graph because this is all income. The previous one was just wages and salaries. And if we go to the next slide, I think